Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Music Lab podcast. My name is Dogg, and I'm so happy to be back with all of you for another episode of the podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, our social media pages. That helps us. That helps the bands like the Crooked Rugs here today. Also, check out our sponsor, RAR Outfitters. That's RAWR, outfitters.com. Don't just wear RAR. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have here all the way from Fort Collins, Colorado, a sleepy town apparently, but they bring out some great music like this band, the Crooked Rugs. Welcome, guys.
Hello,
How's it
hello.
going?
Howdy.
So you guys are playing South by Southwest this year. That's how I got to find you. That's how we featured you guys on our latest Road to South by episode 4. Check that out everywhere you can listen and watch podcast episodes. But what are you guys thinking? Are you excited? It's a month away. Like, what are you feeling?
We are pretty ecstatic, I think. Yeah.
Very stoked. Yes.
1 month.
Yeah. One
So
It's,
do we have like a checklist and like are we checking off boxes as we go or like how are we feeling about it at this point?
I think we're feeling pretty good. We've been playing together since, myself, Jason, Rex, since about 2015. But the Crooked Rugs since about 2019. So I think we've been working our way up to this for a while, and I think we're just excited to play. Obviously there'll be nerves when we're there, Hotel Vegas, Friday night. It's going to be a really good time. A lot of our heroes have played that stage, but I think we're just excited to execute, play some music for everyone,
and go to Austin.
and go to Austin. Yeah.
So the name The Crooked Rugs, where did that come from? What was the inspiration?
Uh, I kind of just lived in a house with a crooked rug, and we were trying to think of band names, and some of us are OCD and bothered by things. And this one in particular really stuck. We're actually, it's funny because we go through phases of like liking the band name and thinking it's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, we recently had like a shout out that was like, first of all, great band name. And we're like, okay, we're like, overall cool. Like it's memorable at least. But yeah. Yeah, really no more than an observation, honestly. But
Yeah, we were just tossing band names back to each other, just like texting each other band names and the Crooked Rugs. And I was like, I don't hate that. That could work.
When we get into our overbloated budget phase where we're playing amphitheaters all the time, we could have like each of us has a unique rug hanging behind us on stage.
I do want to do that.
Do we play with the rug on the floor?
well, what's funny is we have a studio in our basement kind of set up, and our friends that come and record with us are always like giving us grief because our rugs are actually quite straight.
Oh my God. It's the first thing they say. These don't look like Crooked Rugs. But the room is a square.
Yeah.
So like all the rugs fit perfectly when they're straight. But no, just a funny name that has kind of developed into its own sound and imagery. Yeah.
Yeah. So well, and I guess it's better than the alternative, the Crook Drugs, right?
Well, we actually
I
were
kind of like that too. Well, it's funny. It's funny.
we were talking about doing it. Yeah, we want to do a run of merch where it's like a misprint and there's like a bad space, like
And it just says like cook drug,
yeah,
Crooked Rug.
which is how our Instagram gets interpreted a lot of the time. But-
Yeah, you could actually, yeah, you totally could do that, like a play on words or with the spacing. That's a great idea. Instagram the shit out of that, man.
Oh yeah.
So back to South by. So we're doing at least one official gig, and then do we have anything lined up for like day parties, or is that still kind of in the works?
I think it's still kind of in the works for the most part. We just have that one showcase show, and unfortunately, we're not able to be there for like the whole festival.
Right.
But we're gonna be there for that. I think the Thursday, Friday, which is the two like bigger music days. It sounds like.
South by is also kind of the kickoff for a short tour with Warren Tin. So I think that's why we have to leave so quickly.
Yeah.
You got to go down to Austin, then back up
Back
to
up.
Denver, and then up to Seattle. So we won't be there for very long, but excited to meet some people and some friends and
See some venues.
see some venues, see some bands, play some shows.
Yeah, this will all be your first time going to Austin then?
We've been a
second time.
yeah. I mean, individually, we've been there multiple times
Gotcha.
in other bands and yeah, other stuff. But I'm from the South, so I've been there lots of times. But first South by experience.
Yes, we were there last year. When was that wedding? July of last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we played up at this spot called the Coral Snake, which I just saw closed. So I know I like that place.
Yeah, they had a great patio.
Yeah, but we were in New Orleans playing that wedding, and then we went home to Colorado through Texas. So we played Austin last year, but our first South by experience.
Well, that's a great segue. We talk about this wedding. We got to hear.
Yeah, it was my dad's coworker actually was getting married, and he requested that we play it as like he was like, oh yeah, I really like the songs and would love for you to be the wedding band. So we kind of booked a tour around it, and it was awesome. It was like outside in Louisiana in the summer, which is always a massive coin flip as far as like rain and
Bugs.
heat and
Yeah.
bugs and but yeah, it was a blast. We definitely pushed our set length limit, and yeah, we watched a lot of best man speeches go awry. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny because it wasn't like a typical wedding where there's like a wedding coordinator. Like this was in someone's backyard, but it was still beautiful.
Yeah, very
like
nice.
you roll up and there are those classic. What are those trees called with the moss?
Just the
on it?
oaks, yeah.
Yeah, like and like so beautiful, so serene, and like we start playing, they do their first dance, but then everyone goes for dinner, so we're like playing to no one, and then they're like taking pictures, and then like everyone comes and dances and parties, and then people get up on, they do the they toss the flowers, and then the guy like takes off the
Whatever the thing.
and some like
We don't go to very many weddings, obviously. But
play something sexy. So we all just look at each other and go like,
All right.
yeah, engage the wah wah pedals.
Nice reverb clean. It worked perfect.
yeah. And one of those situations where like, where are we gonna get power from? Like, oh, run it from the little like boat house over there or something. And like, I don't know. It was just. I think a lot of us are kind of like, weddings, whatever. But this one, there was a dog involved. The dog in the
I saw
wedding.
my future self there.
Oh, yeah. He met himself as an old man.
He had very similar energy, and he approached me actually.
But they were
Very
like,
flattering.
they were wearing like the same thing but opposite. Like Jay had a blue shirt with black pants, and this guy had like a black shirt with blue pants. So it was great.
Mhm.
Wow. And you said it was
Scenario like wedding wise too, because like rather than asking us to just fully do like a cover catalog, they wanted us to play as ourselves, which was that's one of the
That was
best
cool.
compliments you can
Yeah.
get as a musician.
They actually like walked down the aisle to one of our songs, like not like they were streaming it, like it wasn't even us playing it. And we're like, wait a second, which was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Jason's family was there too. So it was just like a family friend affair. It was really fun.
well, and you said it was like your longest show, like that you'd played, and you did some Beatles covers as well as your originals. Let's talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We played.
We didn't realize how hard something was by the Beatles, and like that intro comes in so weird. And like to be fair, we really did not practice as much as
We know we did not
should.
practice much.
Yeah.
But Yeah, they got a little weird, little jammy.
And you just don't want to mess up the cover either.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, this is their first dance and whatnot. So you're like, oh man,
Pressure's on.
that was scarier than like a big show.
Yeah.
It was like not messing that
Yeah,
up.
because their first dance was to Atlantic City.
Yeah.
Yeah, we played Atlantic City. We played Her and I by King Gizzard, Something by the Beatles.
This thing.
This
Thing,
thing
yeah.
by King Gizzard too. They were big King Gizzard fans.
Yeah.
The bride was actually like, my two favorite bands are King Gizzard and the Crooked Rugs. I'm like, okay.
There you go.
Good
Yeah.
choices.
So, Jace, I know you said you're from New Orleans. I know everybody, though, now lives in Fort Collins. But individually, if you aren't from Fort Collins, tell me your story of how you got to Fort Collins.
Yeah, I guess we'll go around.
Yeah, go ahead.
I am from Omaha, Nebraska, born and raised, and then moved here to go to school, which is where I met Rex and Jace, just like the other guys who like played music. And we kind of bounced around a couple of different bands and projects, and then yeah, when Finn moved up here, because Finn's the youngest, 4 years younger, it was like, oh, we'll start a band with Finn when he comes up, and this is that band. Yeah.
How about you, Finn?
So I guess Rex and I kind of go
Yeah,
hand in hand,
yeah.
but we're both brothers, so we grew up in Durango, Colorado, it's a little southwest corner.
Yep.
And then you came up to CSU to go to fashion school originally.
2015 was when I first came up here, and it just worked out that they had a fashion program, which we wanted to go for like outdoor gear and making just cool outer gear and motocross stuff, whatever, like fishing, anything like that was kind of our forte. And we always grew up playing music together, and we have an older brother too who we play with as well, and we've always just been the jamming family.
Yeah.
And when I came up here, I met Nolan and Jace, and we played in some projects, but we were just hoping for Finn to finally graduate high school.
Yeah.
It felt like a
I was
really
just
long
the
time.
whole time I was like, man, they're doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like playing, like I was more thinking about music than I was like going to school. And I was like, oh, I gotta go to school still. So I went to CSU for fashion as well. And then when I came up, we all kind of joined together. And then that was kind of when Jay came into the picture as well.
Yeah.
When I was nothing more than a gleam in my father's eye. I'm from Chicago originally. I was born there, but mostly raised in Boulder, Colorado, and got real sick of living there. And I found a job in Fort Collins, and that was what prompted me to move up here. And I loved it so much, and I still love it. And I was living in a basement apartment, making weird music and recordings by myself. And that was how I met Nolan, because he moved in upstairs in the same building. And we instantly connected on like, oh, you make music too.
Yeah.
And then I found out their band needed a keyboardist, and that's
The
That's
rest is
how I-
The rest is history.
joined.
What about you, Jace?
Actually, I came up in 2015 also and met Nolan playing lacrosse for CSU, actually. So then we joined a band mostly based out of Omaha together and played as the rhythm section for that band for a bit and did some tours. And then, kind of just kicked this off, moved back to Fort Collins after college and started playing again.
Well, as a Los Angeles Rams fan, I can appreciate another Rams.
Yeah.
Go Rams.
Go Rams here.
So I'm assuming then, Rex and Nolan, are you guys then the designers then for all the t-shirts and all the merch?
Actually, not. No,
Yeah.
that's Jade.
No.
Yeah.
I'd say Jace is like really kind of like leads this project. It's pretty collaborative when it comes to like I don't know. I feel like we're all pretty good at like playing with each other and introducing ideas and stuff like that. But Jace really writes probably, I don't know, 90% of the songs, does most of our art and posters and album art and yeah.
Anything.
And then
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like the guy who goes, "All right, guys, you have to show up at 6 p.m. That would be awesome if you could do that."
We all fit into roles over the 5 years, and the parts of it, like it was a lot of the pandemic just like forced us to kind of take it upon ourselves and start putting you start to realize how many steps go into each part of like putting out an album or making merch or any of that stuff. So you kind of everyone just kind of plays a role in it. But yeah, I mean, we're all kind of designers at like, for ourselves or other projects or doing other things. So
What's that? The visual component could be a good segue into talking about who.
Yes.
yeah, we do have a visual aesthetic that we kind of try to play along with. We kind of have like a movie or like cinema or cinematic kind of feel to a lot of our stuff. We try to anyway. And Jay's brother Charlie Clams definitely helps our live shows with that. He's like our visual guy. So he does a lot of most of our live shows and does all the graphics and stuff for that stuff, which is
He
really
did
cool.
he did the music video for Midnight Cowboy for any listeners who are looking to see like what he does.
Yeah, we actually did a show with him in this like 3D dome, like this.
It's a-
Astronomy
yeah,
dome.
in astronomy, like
So it was like this 360, and he did a whole video visual to that. That's on YouTube too, which is really cool. But yeah, I don't know where we got this like cactus desert
That was like the
vibe.
first logo.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it kind of just like came of that, and I feel like we've just been like discovering what it is since then.
So yeah, so I mean, how like is Charlie older than you guys? Like, what's Charlie's story?
He's my younger brother.
Okay.
He is also very artistically talented. He and I have always been weird art boys. And yeah, he started experimenting with analog video equipment like 5 or 6 years ago. And he makes a lot of analog video equipment in his garage. He's like a DIY electrical engineer. So when he shows up to do visuals with us, he has like a VCR player and
Like movies.
he does a lot of work with like camera feedback. So he'll have like a camera pointing at a TV screen, and you know how that can get kind of trippy sometimes. But yeah, that's kind of how he became involved. It just felt like a natural fit. I think having the visuals behind us while we play just like adds to the impact of the experience.
The hard part is like not getting distracted. Like when we did that no show, you want
Yeah.
to watch his visuals the whole time, so you like forget, that you're playing the show. Because it was one of my favorite additions to our kind of overall show atmosphere that we started doing.
Yeah. So after 6 years now as a band pretty much together, how do you like what's your mindset when it comes to having a full-time job and also trying to make this a full-time profession?
we
Former musicians union.
We've been talking about that.
We'll
if,
pull all of our music off of Spotify at some point.
carefully, and we all lived
Carefully.
us four except for Jay lived together,
Mhm.
so that definitely helps.
Yeah.
Just like it's way easier to get everyone in one place when four of us are here naturally.
Mhm.
I live
Um,
just down the road.
yeah.
Mhm.
But Finn and I work at a snowboard and skate shop together, and Rex works at a bike shop, and then Nolan works at like this cool indie theater venue in town. So like I think I don't know. I get a lot of like our artwork and stuff done at work because it's a skate shop. So there's like only a certain amount of things you can do in a day before it's like, all right, there's
Mhm.
and then Nolan working in a venue I think is like helped. I mean, he sees emails of people trying to book there and is able to, kind of see what works and he's involved in the scene that way too. And I don't know, we're honestly, even with full-time jobs, we're even busier than that. We kind of have a lot of things going on, like community event wise, and
And everyone plays in other bands too. But I don't know. I think like we do our jobs and we pay the money to pay rent and live, and then we go and have these experiences with tours and playing music and writing music and going to other people's shows and just living in it.
I do sometimes wonder how much better the music could be if none of us had to worry about like paying rent.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we took like this just like 3 day retreat where like all we did was play music for 3 days, and it was so nice to just like not worry about anything else.
Yeah, it's it. That was like that weekend was one of the most like creative times I've had in recent memory. So it's yeah, it's a struggle, but it's a struggle for everybody. Like it's not just musicians who are having a hard time economically.
And then I think like when we do get together, when we can play with each other, it's like, all right, let's do something new, or let's record this thing, or let's get really tight for these shows that we have coming up. And then like when we work hard and do something, it feels great to like put an album out or play a show or anything like that. Or just like be creative in general. So I think that's just like the motivating factor.
Yeah, it just breaks my heart when I hear bands, or not just bands, but like when creativity is stymied by finances or by money. Like it just sucks. It really
And
does.
that's
Transformed by it.
you know,
there are parts of it that are better because of it though. Like this is like our relief from like a job is like, oh, we get to go home and like play music. So if it became a full-time thing, I'm sure like at some point we
Yeah.
would feel like, oh, this is the job and have like a kind of a different mindset around it. But I don't know.
Be nice to be able to experience that.
Or just like if we had like financial security, then making music would be like a more seamless thing.
Yeah.
but that's also why we do so much like independently. It's why like we can't pay a designer to do this, or we can't like pay to go to a studio. So like let's just do it ourselves. But then it also like I feel like it brings you closer to the music and the like atmosphere in a sense because we are the ones creating it. Um, yeah.
I think it will pay off too. It's like it's a grind that I think you just have, it's part of doing it, and it's fun. Sometimes you're like, I wish I had food, but like you push through because you're having a blast doing it. And yeah, I think it's gonna pay off too, just through what we just keep doing what we're doing. We're having fun doing that. So
And then I think like when we get older, like I'm gonna look back at this time. It's like, do you remember when we all lived together and played in that band and like drove across the country and like we remember that time we played South by? Remember that year? That was crazy. No, man, you're getting that mixed up with like that. That was that other time. So I think that motivates us. And then I like the record thing, like, oh, like why do you make so many records or anything? I'm like, I don't know how long we're gonna be together. Like, someone could have this happen or that happen, or like, life just continues. So it's like, why not just try to make like the like most music you can in the time that we're here.
Yeah.
We're also like pretty prolific just in general. Like all five of us have ideas constantly. So I think the like amount of records is really just about getting stuff recorded before it just disappears into the ether.
Yeah, because that's my favorite thing. Like, Jace will have a riff, and I'll be like, no, like that other one. No, that other catchy one or whatever. And they just like become like songs, and then we just put those songs into categories, and then those categories just kind of become.
Yeah, like there was a while when we first started playing together where we kept writing these like rockabilly, like country western kind of vibe songs. But we didn't have enough of them for an album yet. So we kept like backlogging them, just like that will be on the country album. And then album 3, we finally had enough material. And it was like, it's time to make the
This is the one.
we've just had a lot of experiences like that. Like we're kind of going through that right now with the album we're working on right now, where some of the songs were like really psychedelic that we wrote on that retreat, but some of them were like a little bluesier. So, but like not enough of them were bluesy. So we're like, that'll be on the bluesier album that's in the future.
Sometime in the future,
That's always happening.
Of course, it usually works out that like we have the most ideas for like new stuff while we're like trying to record the things we finally got hammered out to being like actual songs. They're like, all right, we've got these down. Now we have to record them. But also there's like these other 10 ideas that we were like excited about again.
So like record those, at least voice memo them, try to remember how to play them.
Exactly.
And then recall them in like 9 minutes.
But yeah, it's pretty fun. Keeps us busy.
And I feel like there's always something that's like, oh man, I want to work on that next, but we got to finish this thing we're doing first.
Well, I mean, in a world of, it feels like all of these bands and artists now are not only doing it, but are encouraging to do it, of releasing singles and releasing EPs. You obviously guys believe in albums. How much pressure do you feel like doing like the single game and doing that?
It depends if we like had some things that could stand alone by themselves. Honestly, we just like it's kind of back to like the cinematic thing. Like we kind of like to write based on like a vibe or like a general theme or like a motif kind of. So if a motif is, if you accomplish all you want to say within like 3 songs or something, that could be cool. And I could see us in like at some point doing like 2 20-minute songs or something, and getting to that point.
Or 9 songs that are 20 minutes, like a really short like punk album.
Yeah.
But we also listen to a lot of, like, in general, I think we like to listen to albums all the way through. Like that's kind of
that's how I prefer to experience music. It's like I'm an albums guy, rather than like a playlist guy.
And people can pick the songs that they like. I don't feel like, hey, this is the single, this is the song everyone should listen to. It's like, hey, here are these 9 to 12 songs, and pick what you like, and you don't have to listen to what you don't. But if you zoom out and listen to it as a whole, I think it makes a lot more sense. And then do that over the span of, 5 albums or whatever. And then you're like, oh, there's like a comprehensive thing here that maybe was or wasn't like intentional. But I think it just like tells a broader story than like, hey, here's my 3-minute single, I think we have songs on every album where like people are gonna like this one. This is obviously the single, but it doesn't take away from any other material.
Yeah. So how about like set list wise, when you guys put together your set lists, is there a lot of thought involved, or is it more of just vibe?
Yeah, it's only getting harder.
Yeah, I think a lot of experimenting.
But also on tour, at least my memory of it is like whenever we tour, it's really we feel out the actual vibe in the room and kind of come up with the set list on the spot. Whereas like a venue that we are already familiar with that we're playing in Colorado, that's when we have the more fine-tuned stuff that we spend weeks thinking about in advance. But when we tour, we kind of have like a pool of songs that we are feeling good about. That we kind of warm up on before the tour, and then just kind of curate lists in the moment from that pool for each venue.
Or throw in songs that are not even out yet that we want to like test and see if we can get a reaction or how they will go or something. So, but yeah, Jack White honestly was the first one. I don't know. He like said it in this like interview one time that he liked the feeling, and it felt like it was like a more immersive experience for the crowd if he like was reading the crowd and would choose based on them or like how they were reacting to songs. So
and I think it helps us too, like right as a song is ending, like we'll look at each other and be like, either somebody will like start playing another one, or we'll all kind of look at each other. There'll be a moment. It's like this song, yeah, that song. Okay, go. Which is really fun. But for example, we are playing. Our first show of the year is at the Aggie with this band called the Velveteers and Bitch Flower, and we have a 30-minute set. So it's like, all right, like we are gonna play the songs that we know people like are gonna get super hyped to. We usually start with like the kind of psych country stuff, and then it kind of like devolves into more of like a psychedelic stoner grunge thing. So when we have like a certain amount of time and we want to show people like our best songs, we kind of have, 12 or 15 songs that kind of like we always start with these ones and we always kind of end with these ones. Um,
It keeps it interesting
Yeah.
though. For a lot of times we like, we play locally around Denver, or, people have seen us. And so to have it be like, oh yeah, it's not the same set every time. And I think we've all played in bands that it is like you've got your set that you have ran like and rehearsed, and it feels like you know what that's gonna be. And so yeah, I mean, just keep it interesting for people listening too. You never know. But
Yeah. I think it's also a little bit what Jace was saying, antithesis to the earlier band we were in. We played the same like 8 or 9 songs like for 3 years. So this project was like, how can we play as much music as we can? Um, but yeah, and I'm like, we were literally sitting in the car and like writing down the set list and then like thinking about it and then like switching a song right before we get on
or during.
or during. But it's fun. Yeah. Whatever way we do it, it's a good time.
I mean, Jack White's one of the best.
Oh yeah. Used to be.
Agreed.
So let's talk about Fort Collins, boys. If you were travel agents and someone was coming into your town, sell me on the town itself and like kind of the music scene and like how the music scene and the venues have treated you guys.
It's actually funny that at the very beginning we said that it's a quiet town. It's actually quite the opposite. It's a college town with like a booming art scene. We just had a neighbor move in that doesn't like that we play music, and she notably said, "We moved here from Pennsylvania to quiet Fort Collins to retire." We're like, anywhere else would have said,
30 minutes.
yeah. It's like you moved to a college town with like it's a haven for musicians right now. I don't know what's going on, but
Oh yeah.
it's a really happening like art and music scene.
And everyone's friends.
There's both DIY communities and there's like some city infrastructure behind art and culture as well. So, and just college towns in general are where like art and innovation happens a lot of the time. So, yeah, it's a great place to be an artist.
There's this festival that happens every year. It's called FOCOMX. It's put on like not by the city, but like by this foundation that's here. And there are over 400 bands and 35 venues like in and around Fort Collins that these artists play from, Friday, Saturday. And it's everything from bluegrass to Americana to psychedelic rock to
Hardcore.
like hardcore indie,
DJs.
punks,
Jazz.
DJs, jazz, like everything is here, and it all kind of like commingles in this sort of way. And not only is there great music, but there's also great art. Like there are amazing designers here. There's like great places to play. There's like 100 cap rooms, 300 cap rooms, 600 cap room, 1,000, so there's like a nice way to build up. And once again, like house shows, and there are venues that we've had like residences at literally and kind of over time. But Hotel Hillcrest was a house venue we played. Pinball Jones was like a college spot we played. The Aggie Theater,
Atrium.
Just
the venues seem like involved with the local scene. I think that's kind of a rarity. Like we have like a pretty, like we were saying earlier, like there's a venue in town like the Aggie or like Washington's that gets these national touring acts that like it's usually on an off night from Denver or something, like during the week. So then like they have like a local band play a Friday or Saturday, which is kind of crazy for a room that can hold 800 people, and that they'd even be open to it. So it's cool to see these like local lineups, and then they're actually doing decently. Like there's people showing up for these local bands, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's like sometimes it's like a gate kept thing to like reach those venues at all in certain places. So
So give everybody an idea. How far is Fort Collins from Denver?
it's about an
Traffic.
It all depends. Yeah.
If the bird flies, it's about 50 miles. But if I-25, that can take 3 hours.
It takes about an hour usually.
Yes.
Like
On a good day,
on a
I'd
good
say.
day
On a good
without
day,
crazy
an hour.
traffic.
On a great day, you can get there in like 50 minutes.
Yeah.
On a bad day, might take you 2.5, 3 hours.
3 hours.
It is funny though. I was in Boulder recently and I talked to a guy at a store and he was like, Fort Collins is a whole different market. What is that, like 4.5 hours from here? And I was like, dude, it's like 45 minutes. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, are there still mountains up there? It was like,
And I
it's
feel
just
like
baffling.
the scenes like are kind of funny because like Fort Collins bands will go and play Denver a lot because it's like the big market. But then Denver bands won't come up and play Fort Collins. And when they do, they're like, oh my God, like you guys show up and are like very present here at this show. And we love
That's changing too.
Yeah, it
like
is.
noticing more Denver bands playing here.
So yeah, I mean, uh, are there any famous bands that have come out of Fort Collins that I should know about?
Yeah, the most famous musician in recent memory to come out of Fort Collins is Pretty Lights.
That's what I was
Yeah, the
gonna say.
DJ.
Yeah.
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 What else? Tickle Me Pink was pretty big back in the day.
Yeah.
Like an emo band.
Okay.
There's a band now called Gleamer. They're like a shoegaze band, and they're like picking up pretty well too. So yeah, there seems to be people usually start here at least, and then kind of. It's funny because like a lot of Fort Collins bands like on tour will say they're from Denver just for the sake of
no, Colorado.
Yeah,
I started
exactly.
saying we're from Colorado.
Yeah.
Not from Denver. We're just a Colorado-based band.
Yeah.
People just understand it.
Blackwater Holy Lights from here too.
Oh, really?
Originally.
Okay. So Jace, are you more than when you're writing songs, are you more of a lyrics first and then music, or are you a music first and then lyrics?
It's usually a general theme for like the what I like want to say, but then mostly music first, and then lyrics like come in last, like actually, thought out and recorded. But yeah, usually it's honestly usually just like a riff, and then I just like show or bring recordings, or like we'll do like a little demo or something, and we'll play around on it. Uh, but it kind of changes. Lately, we've been doing different things. Like sometimes we'll like this last writing retreat we were talking about earlier. Like we just all were in a cabin up in the mountains together, and we're like, let's see what we can come up with, like on the spot. And luckily, like we've accumulated enough gear to kind of record things as we play and go back and see what's working and what's not, and kind of refining that way. And definitely streamlines the process a little bit more. Yeah, than someone just like trying to like hammer it out themselves. But yeah, so it's definitely leaning more to like a collaborative. We all play together, then we're like, oh, there could be vocals here. And then even lately, actually, we've been like one of our favorite bands is Kiyagamoyo, this band from Japan, and I always thought they were speaking Japanese. Turns out they just like it's gibberish the whole time because they thought that'd be like more accessible to like the rest of the world if it's just like not words at all. So we've kind of been like doing that for the sake of like writing is like, oh, here's a vocal part. Because historically we write really complex songs that when we go to sing them, we're like, oh no, this is
Why did you
nearly
do that?
impossible to like actually do. So yeah, like writing with like more vocals in mind has been like on Here and Now we did it a lot more too, but yeah, just like making up words or like scatting or something, and then you're like, oh, it sounds like I'm saying this, and then I'll go from there kind of thing. But
I
yeah,
guess you could get like a church choir, right?
yeah, exactly.
That's actually where the title of Midnight Cowboy came from, because Jace was like singing words, and I'm just like, Midnight Cowboy. That's not what he's saying, but it's just like what the song kind of sounded like. And that kind of leads into like I feel like we usually have names for songs before we have words to them, and then sometimes that like influences what the song is about too.
So
But coming out gibberish.
yeah, let's talk about Midnight Cowboy. Musically, where did the inspiration and the thematics kind of come for that song?
I had that like the opening riff was like one of the first things I ever like tried and dropped D because I don't know, I've always been like the Ennio Morricone and like the spaghetti western stuff was always like something that we were really into, and I was like really, I mean, we were,
Yeah.
just watching
Tombstone.
yeah. So like the super spaghetti western stuff and like that kind of guitar and reverb stuff was always just like so cool. Um, so yeah, it came from that kind of, and then the other riff was like they weren't together at all. It just like happened that it was in the same key. It was like, oh, you can kind of like mash them together. So then it became this kind of like epic with like the acoustic on both sides of it, and um, yeah, I don't really. Otherwise,
And
I
then
don't
there's
really
that
know.
kind of like weird, like odd time signature section in the middle and at the end. And I think that was literally like Jace was just playing a riff, and we're like, "What's that? Like, what are you playing?" And it's like, "Oh, it's this, and then that, and this," and then we just like play that over and over and over again, and then it just becomes like this long kind of, and then we were like, "Oh, this heavy section should go at the end. It should do some like that would be cool, right?" And then do the intro again. So yeah, just kind of this big mashup of it's like taking Legos or blocks and just like sticking them together.
But yeah,
And then we're like, this is 7 minutes long.
vocally, I think I was reading I can't remember if it was I think it was Name of the Wind or something at that point where he like runs into this like giant dragon thing that like accidentally eats like a bunch of like opiates and is like going crazy. So yeah, there was like this like whole storyline in this book I was reading. I was like, oh, that's a crazy like narrative to like try to like write from this different perspective than the main character kind of thing. So yeah, then that just like kind of it sounded like a Cowboys song, and yeah, so writing to that narrative worked out, but
So let's talk about Thrill 1 too. That song Into Thrill. Obviously, it makes sense sequencing wise, album, but talk about those songs individually.
Thrill was actually the first song first song we Nolan and I ever wrote together in this other band we were in. We were just like we would jam after practice, and that was like something that we would like do with just like the guitar, and I had like a really early demo on SoundCloud. It was like the first time I ever had a microphone kind of thing. So it was also like my first recording kind of. I had like a blue mic, like one of those like little snowball mics. And like mic it up. The whole drum set was just the room with one single microphone
On a stool.
on a
in front of
stool.
him.
Yeah, like right in front of it. And then yeah, like play the guitar part over it. And there was like horrible latency. So like you would try really hard to get it to sync up still. Uh but we had that forever. And we like that was like the thing that Nolan and I were really like jamming on to get started and kept coming up with more ideas, but it kind of stayed around. And then Thrill 1 actually was when Jay entered the band. So Thrill,
yeah.
the 2 or whatever, came first. And then Thrill 1, we were like, it'd be cool to do like a synthy, sequency intro to this song. And Jay with the micro cork like pulled that sequence out, and then we were just like jamming on it.
It kind of like evolved in a live setting too, where we would always try to like set up Thrill, which is now Thrill 2 on the album. We would always try to set up that song with some kind of like synthy jam that we would do live. So Thrill 1 evolved in a live setting and then became the introduction, like the official introduction for Thrill 2. So.
And then the other song I want to talk about, Chasing the Wind. My God, this song is
So fun to play.
So happy. So
And
solid.
the vocal harmonies are so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a like a and that's what was my like sit down on the couch and play acoustic guitar song forever. Yeah, that riff was just like my warm up. I was trying to do like the double stop, super twangy thing, and then it yeah turned into the listen to a lot of Canned Heat at that point too. So it came in with like the super loud outro thing, and we tend to just like mash parts of songs together, but it kind of works out sometimes and just like see how it can like fit
Mhm.
and feel like it's supposed to happen kind of thing.
I
But
like surprise too. Like that song has like a surprise ending, and surprise is just like fun.
And then like the album Here and Now, we kind of were more intentional about all right, we want this to be like a vocal harmony heavy album. So that's how like kind of the vocals came into like what they are. And I like when it gets hit live, it's like that is so cool.
which it's actually funny because that was the last one that we added to the album. Like
Oh
everything
yeah.
else we had recorded and like felt like we had it like really tight. We're like, okay, this is how it's gonna go. And then yeah, Chasing the Wind. It was called something else at that
It's called
point.
Moving
It
Along.
was called Moving Along at that point. And then we were like, you know what, this like fits way too well. We gotta like figure out how to get this together. And that's when we came up with the structure and like put it on. But we tend to do that. We usually have like a full album ready and then like a month before we're ready to record, we like add one or two songs kind of
Okay.
and usually cut one that
Yeah,
had been on
there were a couple
there.
songs that were going to be on Here and Now that made it like 12 songs or 45 minutes or whatever. And then those got cut. And then we were playing Chasing the Wind and the other one, Melancholy. No, not my. Anyway, and it's like this just fits too well. Like this has to go on this album, or we're not going to put it on another like 3 albums from now. So it's like this has to be put down now. Um, but yeah, love that song.
Mhm.
And then we were in the cabin, and that's actually where the music video to Chasing the Wind was done, was at the writing retreat. Um, and we are gonna play a different song, and then we're like, no, like we gotta play Chasing the Wind. Like, let's play this one instead. Um, yeah, so it's been fun.
So as I'm thinking, as I'm listening to you guys and as we're doing this interview, you know, your albums are definitely thematic. Have you thought about or have you done any of your albums in their entirety live at a show? And
we,
then
we
my second question for you then is if you haven't, I think you're really setting yourself up nicely. So in the future, you can do something like My Morning Jacket where they like
Oh,
play an out like you do a 3 night residency somewhere and you play an album in their entirety each night. Like,
yeah.
hell yeah.
We're working on that.
We're getting there.
So we for every album release, we usually do like the full album and have like a themed like party, like even like costumes and stuff. Like everyone dresses up. If Fort Collins loves a costume party, so we like definitely ran with that. And like for like the country ones, we had like pedal steel players play with us, or like Metropolis, we had like a horn, like a bunch of horns play with us and stuff, and do that whole theme. So we play them all the way through. And then we actually did a residency at one of our favorite venues in town, that our friend used to run. And in that, we were like, first night we're playing like psych themes, second night we're playing. So it wasn't like the albums all the way through, which that, yeah, eventually would be
I feel
that
like I
good,
do
yeah.
want to get to like say we put out a 5th album, we put out a 6th album, and then I want to do like a 3 night thing where first night we play the first two, second night we play the middle two, last night we play like the most recent, and maybe like I don't know, that's when it comes out or something like that. I don't. I love like
That would be
a
cool.
project or an idea or something like that, and like Jace was saying, doing those costume parties and stuff, getting everyone involved, making it a night to remember. Oh, I love that stuff.
And you could do a shirt for each night. Like that would be
Oh,
Oh, yeah. That would be, there you go. Good merch.
There
come hang out, sell merch and all that.
We could get raw to
Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly. So I want to talk about the your experience at with the Midtopia, that session that you guys did, and the choice of the 3 songs that you chose to do it for that session.
So Midtopia, a lot of the people that work there actually were like friends of ours from like the scene in Omaha that were like they were like local DIY like musicians that moved to Wichita and like found like solid jobs and like are doing like really cool stuff out there now with that like crew. So they were like friends of ours, and then I actually played in another band too that was like on their whatever, they're like an official like Midtopia artist. Um, but they all had limitations on how many songs they could do, like for the video, and we kind of broke the system by
Playing a
combining two. Yeah, Ether Smoke Metropolis. We were supposed to do three songs, and we're like, Ether Smoke Metropolis is one
It's
song.
it's 8 minutes long.
Yeah.
You can't play Metropolis
We did-
without playing Ether Smoke.
We did two 8-minute songs, which is,
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
Midnight Cowboys.
we
long,
have
too.
by far the longest Midtopia session so far, but
But Leo, which is on Here and Now and was like kind of one of the singles, and like we play that one pretty well, and it had vocals. Midnight Cowboy, obvious choice, shows all the best qualities of a Crooked Rug song. And then Ether Smoke Metropolis is like probably the most like epic, intricate thing that we can play. And we usually like end our shows by playing that, just because it's really something. I don't say this a lot, but it's something you haven't heard before. So
We were also like tour tight on those
Oh,
songs
yeah.
Yeah.
because that Midtopia session came at the end of a Midwest tour. So we had been playing those three songs pretty frequently on
almost
that
every
tour.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which
So
we
it's
were,
like we're ready to play them, and yeah.
which is why we look so tired.
Oh, we were so
We had freshly come from the Doodah Diner, which is a Wichita staple, but they give you like monkey bread in like insane portions. So we were all like,
Oh,
10 days
like,
into our tour and very
tired,
full and
hot, sweaty.
Yeah.
It looked
fun,
great.
though.
But it
Yeah.
came out great.
They're great to work with, super
Oh,
professional
super
people,
professional,
and
super friendly,
yeah.
super
We like Midtopia. They're
yeah,
cool.
uplifting to artists. Yeah, it's awesome.
Good crew.
That's cool. So, speaking of touring, what individually for all of you, what is the one thing that you love about touring and the one thing that you just can't stand or you hate about touring?
Mm,
yeah.
yeah.
I can't pick just one.
Favorite thing is probably going to new cities and playing to new people and playing music every night. Like, yeah, those are three things. What I can't stand, if the drives were a little shorter, that'd be nice. And also the like fear of maybe your car breaking down.
We're getting stolen.
Yeah,
that's
stolen. Just like the fear that you live with.
Mhm.
Oh no, all my very important things like.
But yeah, similar thing. I love going to cities. I think it's like different. Now it's weird when I visit a city and I'm not playing a show there because I feel like it's like locals view you differently if you're a tourist in a place versus like playing a show in a place. Like they'll tell you the like best kept secret of a town if they're like, "Oh, you're working here for the night," basically. So they'll be like, "You got to check this spot out" or something. Versus like if you're a tourist, they're like, "Oh yeah, here's the normal things that everyone sees," kind of. Uh, but yeah, the driving, we have like our van has like 280,000 miles on it or something and turns off on the highway sometimes if you plug your phone into it.
Yeah, we learned that.
So that gets a little stressful, but otherwise, yeah, it's a blast.
Make it to the next town we're going to, and all the way home too.
I'd say my least, like, I think I enjoy tour like in its entirety, even like when you're tired and frustrated and they don't give you a biscuit at Popeyes. Like, that's when you're really upset. But,
give us
It's so weird. But like, I think my like least favorite part is coming back home and not like feels terrible. You're like, wait, I don't need to get in a van and drive 8 hours right now. Like, you're like, what am I doing with my life?
Post-tour depression.
Yeah, that's my least favorite
I
part.
hate that.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, we can go back out. Like, we were almost to New York. Let's just go. Like, we're already right there.
Yeah, I did say I like traveling. Rex and I didn't get out of Colorado like a whole lot when we were growing up, so it's cool seeing all these new places, and I love that we get to play with like different bands a lot of the time. Like every city you show up to, you're playing with new people, so that's cool exposure to new music. I don't really have many issues with it really. Other than right now our van is like really tight. We have like two like Nolan and Jace like up front, and then like Rex, Jay, and I split this one bench in the back. So
And then all of our gear, our friend like came and looked in our van. They were touring like alongside us. They have like bench seats for everybody, and they literally look in our van. They're like, "You guys all sit on that one." Yep.
so yeah, after like 60 hours of driving, like your body doesn't feel great. You like can't sleep at all. So maybe one day we can upgrade the van. So
One more seat.
Yeah.
One more seat would be
Yeah,
cool.
well, and then a little extension on the back.
Yeah.
But it overall it's awesome.
Yeah.
But little heads up, 10-minute warning. We're about to go see Dig, by the Brian Jonestown Massacre, Dandy Warhol movie, at 8 o'clock. But yeah, another one of our big influences. Dandy Warhol,
The Brian Jonestown
So we're
Massacre.
from talking about music to watching.
Is this like a one night only thing, or what is what?
The
Is it-
debut of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a documentary that came out in like 2003 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2004, yeah.
Or yeah, and then is being redone with the tambourine player, the longest lasting member of the Brian Jonestown Massacre, is now doing like the narration, and they added a bunch of
Yeah,
scenes.
there's
and
like
stuff.
30 minutes of extra footage and
So-
stuff like
Yeah.
that.
We like bonded over
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a good movie.
It's one of the best music documentaries I've ever seen in my life.
Wow. Yeah, we got to see was it last year? Yeah, I guess it was last year. Oasis released one of their documentaries on IMAX, and it was like just one night only thing. And I'm a huge Oasis fan. Thank God.
Nice.
for it. So we got night two at Giant Stadium
Nice.
in New
Heck
Jersey.
yeah.
So yeah, that'll be a good.
Oh man, they're making their comeback after their 20-year contract finally went up.
15 years. It's been 15
Yeah.
years. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
crazy.
so wild.
So speaking of another great band, and this is I told you guys before, like we started, Wilco is a band that you guys remind me a lot of. How much have you dived into their catalog? Are you familiar with Wilco as a band?
I really like Schmilko, and then I mean, yeah, like random name generator and like star, yeah, yeah. I'm a bit of a fan. If I ever was a child, was like one of my favorite songs for a long time.
Ben just showed me the Out of Sight, Out of Mind music video, and that is, I'm so jealous. I think that is the coolest. Like, if I could play my guitar on a snowboard, jumping out of a plane, again, like they did it. I'm like, you guys, like that's the king of the crop. That's so cool.
I think Jeff Tweedy is like an absolute genius, and I really resonate with like his ethos on music. It definitely like for a while I wasn't like super immersed in their discography. I actually liked his solo projects and the stuff he did with like I think it was with his son and stuff a lot. Um, but yeah, no, recently I don't know. Like we were saying, like you hit a certain age and like Wilco just really hits for some reason.
I think there's a meme of like 30-year-old wakes up to find his closet is filled with Wilco t-shirts. Yeah.
Yeah. There's another band too from Athens, Georgia. They're called the Future Birds.
Oh yeah.
You guys have that kind of vibe as well. Like you remind me a lot of those guys too. And obviously that's high compliments to all of you, but
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely influence.
That's like
Yeah.
the best comparisons we've had.
Yeah.
So who've told you what have other people told you that you sound like?
Well,
In the
sometimes
beginning, King Giz was like the
Yeah.
main one that they
Yeah.
said.
We had
started
kind of
the
that
band.
like
Yeah.
darker, psychier sound in our first couple albums, and then it's kind of morphed into this more like cosmic country psych western
Mhm.
stuff. And we've gotten like Wilco. Actually, we have most of our CDs are Beck CDs in our van.
Mhm.
Take a lot from that. What
Pink Floyd, we've also
yeah,
gotten.
so-
that was the one that we would always get at the very beginning, which was
Sure.
they're like, you guys must really worship Pink Floyd. And what's really funny is at that point, none of us were like that into Pink Floyd.
Like it,
Yeah, like we'd all listen to it. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. And then yeah.
But recently it has been a bit more like country or like Yola Tango or kind of like stuff like that, where bands with bigger discographies and kind of more in the like jammier psychedelic stuff, not so much like the King Giz OC's realm.
Mhm.
I just don't want to get stuck doing one thing, so I just keep trying to listen to new things.
And then that makes its way into its music inevitably.
You are what you listen to.
Well, I must say, like the country of or the continent of Australia is just churning out bands that are just
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was just listening to
Absolutely
Animal
amazing.
Sniffers
Yeah.
over here.
I mean, they have for a while. I realized like one of our driving back from Texas, actually, last time we were in Amarillo, we got the AC/DC jailbreak. Yeah, we're like, this is the best
I remember
shit.
that.
Like, so yeah, we've definitely Australia has definitely influenced us. But
Yeah.
Oh, we just played with Babe Rainbow.
Babe
who's
Rainbow,
from
yeah,
Australia,
Mhm.
back in October, which was really fun.
Yeah, they Australia has a whole showcase. I think it's called the Australia House at South by, and like it's like we went last year, free drinks,
Yeah.
just great bands all day.
That'd be fun.
oh, good to know. Yeah,
Oh
dang.
yeah. Oh, I'll let you know, guys. I'll let you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, hopefully we get to, obviously we're going to get to see you live. Hopefully we can hang out as well. I can't wait to see you guys. And I can't wait to see all the bands down there. South by is going to be a blast.
Yeah.
We're also doing Tree Fort. Yeah, just talk about real quick tour dates and any new music that your fans can look forward to.
Yeah, tour dates. We are going to be touring. Um, the 14th is when we're playing South by Southwest all the way through the 30th of March. Playing Austin, Denver, Salt Lake,
Portland.
Seattle, Portland, Bend, Oregon, Boise, Idaho. And then we're going to be touring May 8th to 18th, going to Nebraska, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Chicago. Yeah. And yeah, working on new music now, but you got 5 albums you can go listen to. Here Now just came out in November, and you can check it out.
Sweet. Well, guys, best of luck. Much love to you all. Enjoy the movie.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
That
no,
was awesome.
Hell yeah, guys. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, our social media pages. That helps us, that helps the bands like the Crooked Rugs. Also, check out our sponsor, RAR Outfitters. That's RAWR, outfitters.com. Don't just wear, RAR. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Dog. You've been great. This is the Music Lab podcast.